What's up, y'all? I hope everybody is feeling well this morning. So let's not waste any time and go ahead and get down. And I want to talk about the fact that there are so many TikTok users that are deleting the app in droves. As a matter of fact, the removes are up to 150% following the U.S. joint venture. Now, I'm pretty sure that most of you who have TikTok accounts noticed that there was something funny going on. It started about a couple of days ago when the U.S. took over. I couldn't even see a lot of content. The algorithm was weird. Things was just funny. You couldn't comment. You couldn't post anything. It was just wild, right? And so a lot of people were like, what in the world is going on? But it clicked that the US were definitely tying up the ends to take over and control the app. Now, what I want to do right here is insert this news clip that basically talks about the US takeover, and then I'll be back.
TikTok is officially staying in the United States. The popular Chinese app has sealed a deal for a new majority U.S. joint venture, and U.S. President Donald Trump lauded the deal. In a post on Truth Social, he thanked his Vice President J.D. Vance, his administration, and the Chinese President Xi Jinping, saying this, quote, "I would also like to thank President Xi of China for working with us and ultimately approving the deal. He could have gone the other way, but didn't, and is appreciated for his decision," unquote. This comes after years of uncertainty. It comes after Trump tried to ban the app back in 2020 over national security concerns, and after a law was passed and signed by then President Joe Biden in 2024 that required the U.S. version of TikTok to be spun off from ByteDance, its Beijing-based parent company, or face a U.S. ban. Now, in a statement that was released on Thursday, the new group said this in regards to national security. It said, quote, "The majority American-owned joint venture will operate under defined safeguards that protect national security through comprehensive data protections, algorithm security, content moderation, and software assurances for U.S. users." Now, the joint venture plans to retrain TikTok's algorithm on U.S. user data. The U.S. tech giant Oracle will oversee storage of Americans' data, so the user experience on the app is not likely to change for Americans, but the algorithm which controls what videos are served, that could shift. TikTok is one of China's biggest high-tech success stories. It has over 1.5 billion users worldwide. In the U.S., it's used by more than 200 million people, and the core of its success is its AI-powered algorithm that keeps users hooked to their smartphones. It's also why TikTok was threatened with a ban in the first place. U.S. lawmakers have been concerned that China could use TikTok to spy or conduct influence operations on Americans. TikTok in the U.S. will still have links to China. Beijing-based ByteDance will still manage the TikTok shop, as well as advertising and marketing.
All right, so that was the breakdown of the transaction finally coming to fruition. The U.S. have been trying to make this happen for quite some time, and now they control everything almost about TikTok, right? And so there's a lot of people complaining about the censorship now since the takeover has begun. Although we do know that TikTok had pretty strict rules in the beginning, but now people are complaining about the fact that they can't talk about Epstein. If you say the word, it won't allow you to post a video. You can't even send it in a DM. They're just very strict on anything dealing with the Epstein files or anything political. Now, U.S. investors like Oracle have come out and refuted those claims and said that they were just experiencing some technical difficulties and they have not censored the word Epstein, and you could talk about politics. Now, before we get into some clips that I want to share with you all, I want to take the time to read the privacy policy now as it stands, right? So it says, information you provide may include sensitive personal information as defined under applicable state privacy laws, such as information from users under the relevant age threshold, information you disclose in survey responses or in your user content about your racial or ethnic origin, national origin, religious beliefs, mental or physical health diagnosis, S-life or S-orientation, status as transgender or non-binary, citizenship or immigration status, or financial information. For example, we may process your financial information in order to provide you the goods or services you request from us, or your driver's license number in order to verify your identity. We may also collect precise location data depending on your settings, and as explained below, we process such sensitive personal information in accordance with applicable law, such as for permitted purposes under the California Consumer Privacy Act. And that right there, ladies and gentlemen, is the reason why a lot of people are canceling their TikTok accounts, because it's just too much monitoring. It really is. And then they want to say that the reason why they wanted to buy TikTok in the first place is because they were afraid that China was trying to collect our data. But look at what they're doing. But anyway, what I'm going to do right here is implement a couple of clips talking about certain situations dealing with this whole takeover by the US, right? And then I'll be back.
It's official. TikTok just announced they've handed control of US TikTok over to this billionaire and MAGA oligarch Larry Ellison. This completes a 2.5-year campaign by the state of Israel to censor Americans' TikTok because the platform permitted pro-Palestinian speech. Remember, who told us this out loud last August when he met with a fleet of paid American influencers, telling them that the most important thing happening for Israel in their digital war, their propaganda machine, was the TikTok sale to Larry Ellison, a dear friend of Netanyahu, the largest donor to the IDF, and a mega billionaire who has spent the last year buying up social media platforms and news outlets like Paramount, Skydance, and CBS, and then censored them, firing commentators, making sure that whatever they put out is pro-regime, pro-US, and pro-Israel. We are living through what may be the largest case of mass censorship we will experience in our lives. It's not just pro-Palestinian speech that will disappear from this app in the coming days, weeks, and months. It's anything that is not pro-MAGA, pro-billionaire, and pro-empire. I tried my best this entire time since the very beginning to document and explain exactly why these politicians moved to ban TikTok. Every step of the way pointed to the fact that they were trying to censor this platform on behalf of. It's not and never was about China or national security. This was always about censorship, about hiding the truth, about protecting the criminals in power. I don't know what will happen in the next days, weeks, months on this platform. You may see me disappear without another notice.
We have some breaking news. California Governor Gavin Newsom is investigating TikTok because people are complaining that their messages get blocked when they use the word Epstein. And this is just an example of what so many people are dealing with. Like, you type the word Epstein and it literally doesn't send. It says this message may be in violation of our community guidelines. And so Newsom posted on X, "It's time to investigate. I'm launching a review into whether TikTok is violating state law by censoring Trump critical content." And this has just been an ongoing conversation this past week ever since TikTok sold for $14 billion to Trump friendly owners like Oracle, Abu Dhabi-based AI company, and more. And people are saying that they're unable to post political content, especially content related to the Minnesota ICE shooting. TikTok has said that they're dealing with like a power outage, which is why they're dealing with all of these glitches. And in terms of this Epstein situation, a TikTok spokesperson specifically addressed it by saying, "We don't have rules against sharing the name Epstein in direct messages and are investigating why some users are experiencing issues." But obviously it is suspicious that we're waiting for these Epstein files to be released. We know Trump wants this Epstein conversation to be over, and now Trump's friends are in charge of TikTok, which, by the way, they bought at a steal. TikTok was valued at $50 billion and it sold for $14 billion. And now we can't post content about ICE or share direct messages with the name Epstein in it. This issue of social media censorship is so important to us as independent journalists who don't have the platforms of legacy media. We actually used to work at 60 Minutes before leaving to start News Girls so that we can get important information out there to the people who want it. If you come across any other censorship instances on any social media platform, share it with us so that we can investigate it. And in the meantime, follow the News Girls to stay in the loop.
TikTok's new terms of service and privacy policy went into effect yesterday, January 22nd. I read through the full policy so you didn't have to, but I also compared them to the last version. And we're going to jump straight in. Firstly, in the privacy policy under information you provide, TikTok has included sensitive information such as citizenship and immigration status. I need to be very clear when I say this, TikTok collects more than one type of information. There's information you willingly provide, information that is automatically collected, and information they get from third party or other sources. And I know a lot of people who got to this portion of the new privacy policy are panicking. However, I don't like fear-mongering for views, so while TikTok will track you to an extent, here are some things you can actually do about it. For in-app settings, go to Settings and Privacy, Security and Permissions, then to Privacy. You can turn off activity status, as well as suggesting your account through contacts, Facebook, or people who send links to you. Additionally, you have the power to stop syncing contacts as well as Facebook friends with TikTok. You can toggle these off too. Also, go back to Settings and Privacy, then click Ads, and when it comes to data that is collected from other sources, you can turn off targeted ads outside of TikTok, targeted ads, and you can also clear your off-TikTok data. When it comes to tracking, like many social media apps, TikTok does collect a lot of information if you allow them to. While you have the power to limit this to an extent, you also have the power to go into your phone's own settings and limit location tracking and data, stuff like that. Okay, number 2, we need to talk about that pop-up. A lot of people said that they didn't have the option to decline it. I think it's important to note that in previous terms and conditions, privacy policies, community guidelines, TikTok has stated that the continued use of TikTok does count as your agreement to the terms and conditions or any of the policies. So even if you didn't agree with it and you continue to use the app, you're signaling to TikTok that you agree with these terms. Thirdly, before we get to the AI section, we need to talk about things that a lot of people genuinely don't know about TikTok when it comes to how they can treat your account. This goes for people who are educators, political commentators, monetized accounts, and people who are posting nuanced, very complex discussions that can be sensitive or flagged in the system. In the Terms of Service section 5.2, TikTok USDS joint venture writes, like the previous terms, they do state, we reserve the right at any time and without prior notice to ban or suspend your account or restrict access to features on the platform at our sole discretion. Additionally, if they previously banned or suspended your account and you make other accounts, they are fully in the right to suspend or ban those accounts. While the process to appeal may be there, it's not necessarily guaranteed. Number 4, using generative AI features. This is section 3.10 of the new TikTok Terms of Service. Like many other new beefed up sections in this new Terms of Service, TikTok is essentially codifying what they've already been doing behind the scenes on the Terms of Service, community guidelines. They're basically just setting the terms in stone, and they're letting you know that in the future we may be updating or adding different features when it comes to generative AI, and that you have many responsibilities when it comes to using generative AI features, like not claiming that it's real when it is in fact generated, but also making sure that you're not producing any output that is inappropriate or that's going to violate any of these terms or guidelines. And lastly, section 3.6, it's important to note that, quote, we may remove or restrict access to any content, including yours, whether publicly or privately posted, for any reason. Now, this provision is not necessarily new. In fact, they've been doing this for quite a while before the TikTok USDS joint venture. And like other apps a little bit farther up in this policy, TikTok does have a very broad license when it comes to your content, how they're going to take your content and display it, but also possibly train AI with it, depending on the features that you use, but also the settings that you engage with. Also, there was a lot of chatter about section 3.2. You may revoke, reclaim, or reassign the username of your account in certain circumstances, such as when you're inactive for 180 days, or your username violates terms and conditions, privacy policy, community guidelines, stuff like that. I'm 99% sure that this was an internal policy that they're just making a public policy right now, or just telling you outright. Now, I know I didn't get to everything, and there is so much more that has changed in these policies. However, if you have any questions, please feel free to sound off in the comments below. I'm sure I'm going to be doing a few more parts on this, but also looking deeper into the investors and the companies that TikTok just posted when it comes to the consortium of investors. So I'm going to be doing my due diligence behind the scenes and looking through every one of these companies. Okay, thanks for watching, and again, sound off in the comments below if you have any questions.
All right, so we just seen and heard all of that. Now, I was told by a major tech guy that even if you go into your TikTok settings to turn off your location, to turn off certain settings that releases your data, that in the event if you turn off your phone and turn it back on, you have to check it again because those same settings can reset and be turned back on. And so if you're still on the fence about using TikTok or not, just keep that in mind. Now, I've deleted one of my accounts and the other account is so flooded with DMs because everybody is trying to pass off their phone numbers and follow you here and follow you there. I got to go there and retrieve numbers and stuff like that. But clearly, this is an invasion of privacy. So anyway, I'm gonna draw the line here. I want to hear from you all. Let me know what you think about all of this in the comments. Don't forget to like, comment, share, and if you're new here, consider subbing to the channel. I'll get with you guys later. Have a beautiful day.
Tough News TV. We out.